You've come to the right place. If you're a course creator looking to build more impact, income, and freedom, LMScast is the #1 podcast for course creators just like you. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I'm the co-founder of the most powerful tool for building, selling, and protecting engaging online courses called LifterLMS. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMScast. My name is Chris Badgett and I'm joined by a special guest, Allie Mathis from the LifterLMS team. How are you doing?
Great. How are you? Happy to be here.
Good to have you back. You're still leading in terms of the most repeat guests, so thanks for coming on the show again.
That's why I keep booking myself.
It's awesome. Well, cool. We're really excited. We've released these new form add-ons and want to do a show to kind of talk about it. And Allie's going to interview me about it because forms are one of those things that, like, yeah, we all know what a contact form is, but what does it really mean for a LMS? So I'll hand it over to you to represent the community and try to pull a clear explanation out of Chris.
All right. I'll do my best. Yeah, we're really excited about the forms add-ons because forms are a great way, like you said, to power up your course. So can you start by telling everybody what the 3 new add-ons are and then a little bit about the update to Gravity Forms, which is the add-on that we already had for forms, and maybe how these new add-ons might be a little different from Gravity Forms?
Absolutely. So the 3 new form add-ons are Formidable Forms, WPForms, and Ninja Forms. And those are very popular forms in the WordPress ecosystem. And we, like you mentioned, we also had a major update to our existing LifterLMS Gravity Forms add-on. So they're all a little bit different. Some people already have like a form that they're used to working with, whether that's Ninja Forms or Gravity Forms or WP Forms. So it's really just a question of just go with the one you're already using. They all do the same features in LifterLMS, but it's just, they have their own little, differences in how they work and all the various add-ons they have and stuff like that.
So just to clarify, in case anybody out there listening doesn't know, these are add-ons and integrations. So the user would still need to purchase a license for the corresponding form for the company. So like if you're using LifterLMS Gravity Forms, you still need to have a Gravity Forms license as well.
Absolutely. You still have to have your own, Gravity Forms in the same way that, like with our MailChimp integration, you still need to have your own MailChimp account. Right. Now with these form add-ons, one of the things that make them a little bit different is Gravity Forms does not have a free plugin. Everything is paid. Whereas WP Forms, Ninja Forms, and Formidable Forms, they do have free versions of their software, and then they have add-ons similar to LifterLMS. So if you want to kind of get started with some of the features, you might want to try Ninja, Formidable, or WP Forms Lite, which you can find in the WordPress plugin repository.
So I know we don't want to play favorites because it's like picking your favorite child, but if I'm a new user and I want to start integrating forms into my website, how do I even know like which of those 4 add-ons might be the right one for me? Can you tell us a little bit about some of the like big picture differences between them, or how you might be able to pick the one that's right for you?
I think the best, at least for the 3 that are free, it doesn't take long to install the 3 different plugins and try them out and just see which one with the free version is the easiest for you to use and just makes sense. They're all very similar in that you can put a name field in, a phone number, short text, long text, radio buttons, checkboxes, all kinds of stuff. But you'll find one of them easier and more intuitive to use. Check out their websites. Just in general, Gravity Forms, which does not have a free version, I believe has been around the longest. It's like the giant in the room of, just simply because it was the first or one of the major early premium form plugins out there. In the form ecosystem in WordPress, there's tools like Contact Form 7, that have been around since forever, those free form tools. But I think Gravity Forms was probably the first to really go premium and start with that. But they're really all, they're all, they can all do similar things. And you could also check out the documentation on the LifterLMS website, and you'll see, little tutorials and things about how to work with the different ones. And maybe that can help you make your decision as well.
See, I like to stump you, Chris. I didn't prep you with any of these questions, but are there some of these forms that might work better in certain languages? Like, because we have a very international user base. Does it not matter?
That's a great question. The best way to find out about internationalization, so no, you're not going to stump me on this one, is to go to the free form plugins. I can't speak for Gravity Forms per se. However, I know it's been around for a long time, so it's probably pretty solid internationally. Mm-hmm. But when you go to the WordPress plugin pages for the free plugins, you can then look in the translation area to see how well that plugin has been translated into various different languages, which will, just look for your language, and hopefully the plugin has already been translated to like 90% plus in your language, mm-hmm. which will make it, work well across languages.
Cool. One of the questions I see coming into our inbox a lot is about the ability to customize user registration forms. And I know that these new integrations are really going to open up that world a lot. So can you talk a little bit about how to customize user registration forms and what these form integrations will allow you to do?
Yeah. So at LifterLMS, we build new features and things based on, what people want and need and what course creators are trying to do. Lifter has always had a user registration where you could turn on or make some required or not. First name, last name, choose your password, what's your address, what's your phone number. But a lot of times people want to, when people are registering to their course or to their online school, they want to collect a lot more information mm-hmm. than just those kind of standard options. So that's where the custom user registration functionality, where that was born out of. And just to be clear, the free form plugins, the free versions of all these plugins, I believe you need their paid version because they have their they have a user registration thing that you need that's a premium feature. Uh-huh. So if you are going to want to do custom user registration, you're going to have to pay for your form plugin. Just making that clear. But once you have that, then basically what the LifterLMS add-on does is it allows you to seamlessly create a form that people use in the checkout flow or the enrollment flow where you can collect all kinds of information.
Cool. And so we talk a lot about the different, the three different buckets: health, relationships, and finance. Are there different ways within those buckets that a user registration form could be used? Could you give me an example, maybe in the health industry?
Sure. Well, if we're doing a yoga course, this is an example I use a lot. How cool would it be to have a course that also comes with a yoga mat that you send out in the mail that's branded with your company logo, so that, that yoga mat, every time they see it sitting in the corner with your LMS name on there. So course plus physical products, whether that's a yoga mat, maybe you get some, a t-shirt or yoga pants or whatever. Mm-hmm. And people need to select colors, sizes, shipping address, special instructions. Maybe your course comes with a book or a choice of books, or, maybe there's a upsell. I mean, there's all kinds of just think of physical products that come with online courses and memberships. Uh-huh. Depending upon what that product is, if there's choices involved or variations, a form is perfect for that. Cool. So that's a health and fitness example.
Yeah. What about a relationship or finance example?
Let's see. A relationship example, there could be something where the person, let's say it's a parenting course, and it comes with some coaching element, some kind of group coaching. Mm-hmm. And so as they're registering, perhaps you are collecting some data points that you're going to use in your coaching calls, either one-on-one or in group context. So I don't know. I'm just thinking, can you give me a parenting example? Like
I
what?
thought I
Like
was asking the question.
like what's an issue that parents struggle with? Not you or me specifically,
Well,
but like
getting their kids to try new foods, getting their kids to take a shower,
got
getting their
it.
kids to clean their room. I mean, just off the top of my head, I don't know.
Not thinking from experience there.
Right,
So,
right. No, no, not personal experience.
so if I have a picky eater course about like getting your kids to experiment with vegetables or whole foods or whatever, try to get them off the white diet, like the white noodles, white rice, white bread, and like kind of branch out a little bit. I may be in the registration. I may be asking things like check off all that you have tried, like
Okay.
seaweed, what's fun, carrots. You know, I could be collecting like basically an inventory because you know when people get stuck, especially in a relationship situation, they often end up in a behavior loop
Uh-huh.
where they just kind of give up and they stop trying. But the reality is, in a lot of cases, there's a lot more options out there than most people realize.
Mm-hmm.
And so by getting that data as they're coming in, the coach or for the group coaching calls, the instructor or the leader can look at the data points and be like, all right, nobody on this list, nobody here on this call has even tried dried seaweed yet, but kids
Gotcha.
actually think that's like potato chips. And that's all just from collecting data like on the registration.
Okay. So another major way that we can use custom registration forms is to attach them to the end of a lesson and require a form submission.
Yeah.
Can you, again, talk about a little bit about how that would work and if that's something that you can do with just the core LifterLMS plugin or if you need any of our paid add-ons in addition to the Forms plugin to make that happen?
So what the main feature of the form integration does is if it's on a lesson, and you can override this at a course level or on a specific lesson if you want to, but basically you put the form in the lesson and you're telling the LMS that this lesson cannot be marked complete until they have submitted the form.
Mm-hmm.
So what that form does is really up to your imagination. A simple example is on the very last lesson or towards the end, you could collect like testimonial or feedback from the student. So let's assume the course has like a certificate at the end or something that people really want.
Right.
You could require them to provide feedback before they ultimately finish.
So it would come like in the LifterLMS ecosystem, like if I'm taking the course, would the form show up before I have the option to like take a quiz or submit an assignment, or would it be after that?
Oh, that's a good point. So you can have a lesson that has a quiz on it, an assignment on it, and a form on it if you want to. So
Right.
that's a lot to put on one lesson, but let's say you had on your final lesson, you had the final exam plus the leave feedback form. You could put them both on there and they would both be there. And that lesson...
But like which would come first for this from the student experience?
They could actually choose.
Oh,
in
okay.
that case. But no matter what, that lesson's not going to be marked complete and they're not going to get the certificate unless they provide the feedback. Now, you might also not want to be like forcing people to leave testimonials. So in that case, for that lesson, you may want to make that optional. So you have that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And another example, like just to go to the very beginning of the course, is you could, I'm just thinking of Gravity Forms off the top of my head. They have their own little add-on. So they have this little signature add-on where you can like literally like sign something on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have something and your first lesson is like, you need to sign this like legal kind of disclaimer waiver thing.
Yeah.
You could put that on lesson one and, you know, all the other lessons are prerequisited or drip out after that. So basically, if you don't sign the document, the form, just like happens in in-person like field trips and classrooms.
Yeah, gotcha.
You can totally recreate that in the online space. So that's a more kind of creative use of forms.
That is cool. And so I'm assuming also forms could also be used like in lieu of the assignments add-on, right? Like you could use forms to request like somebody submit an essay or a short answer or something.
Yeah, so an upload is a type of form field you can put in there. So
Oh,
if
so they could upload a video or audio or a photo, anything?
Yeah. I mean, even like that last lesson, if you wanted to collect like audio testimonials, you could say, hey, record yourself on your phone or whatever and upload the MP3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the
And where does that
feedback,
go? Like as the admin on the other side of it, if my student has submit a form, how do I know, like, where is it? Where do I find
where do you want it to go? No, I'm just kidding.
it?
So by default, it's going to go, this is where it gets a little different between the form plugins.
uh,
In general, it's going to go to the WordPress media library,
yeah.
which, you know,
Okay.
to get more advanced, like if you want to outsource your media library to Amazon or something, there are other tools for that.
Yeah.
But that's where it goes there. The storage is there. But this goes to like the third kind of major feature of all these, which is, you know, if you only have 10 students, it's not that big of a deal. But if you have like 10,000 people on your platform
Right.
and a teacher is trying to look at a student or whatever, like your media library could become unmanageable with like all these like PDFs or people, you know, whatever these like legal documents that got submitted that need to get filed or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what you can do, this is one of the LMS related features, is that form entry. It lives in the media library, but it's also on that student's in the reporting interface. So the place you go to see
Okay.
how Johnny is doing
Uh-huh.
in the Picky Eater course, you will also see the form entries there, along with, if you are using the LifterLMS advanced quizzes add-on, you'll see the quizzes that require manual grading, or even the ones that were automatically graded. You could see how he answered them. You could see the assignments that were there. But
So will
basically,
I see like the form was submit and then I can click on a link and then see what was actually
yeah.
submit? Okay.
And this is all the form plugins. When you have a form, you can set up, what most people do with forms is they get an email with the content of the form too. So if you want,
Yeah.
and it could be different on a per form basis. Like you may want the lawyer form to go to your lawyer. You could have the testimonial form go to your marketing team by email. You could
Uh-huh.
have the, you know, course, how do I make this course feedback form go to the instructor of that specific course. So that's the beauty of forms in the confirmation settings, is those, you know, you can, it's nice to like store the entries. It's also
Mm-hmm.
nice to get them by email too. It just
Yeah.
depends on the workflow that you want to design for your platform.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there, I know that form entries and reporting is like one of the major, I don't know, benefits, features of our new forms integrations. Is there anything more that you want to say about that?
I would just say that's, you know, that how that all works is one of the things that's like slightly different between the different form tools. So for
Okay.
example, WPForms Lite, the free version of that, does not store the forms on your website. You have to get the paid version of WPForms to get the submission stored on your website.
Oh, I see.
And therefore, then you can get those inside the reporting.
Okay.
So just little things like that. But yeah, I mean, forms have so many different use cases.
So
So
do you think, I know they have a lot of use cases, but so do you think that forms can add value to your course in that as an administrator or a course creator, you're able to charge more for your course if it has forms, like it's a value add, or is it more just like like an information gathering ad because you get the data and the analytics from people that are submitting them? Like, what's the benefit to the administrator?
that's a great question. It's not just, I mean, it can be just like a utility to collect information,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be an extreme value add. For example, on this podcast, this episode hasn't been released live yet, but it's been recorded with Ellen Martin. She talks about how how course completion isn't necessarily the be all end all of analytics and metrics, because what if somebody came to your course and they found like what they were looking for in lesson 7, they're 100% happy, they have like a 20% completion rate, but they got a huge success and result because they got that piece that they needed. So if we extrapolate on that, if you do something more advanced with a form, let's say using something called conditional logic, where basically the form adapts as you answer questions. It goes in different directions.
Oh,
What I mean by that is you could
yeah.
actually build a form that's asking questions, and based on which options people choose,
Uh-huh.
it will ultimately end up recommending a specific set of lessons within the course. Not necessarily all the lessons, but kind of like a personality test. So if
That's great because I've seen that as a request from our users a lot, actually coming through like our inbox, conditional logic and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that's huge.
that's where
I
forms
didn't
get
know
really
that. I'm just
powerful.
finding this out for the first time. So
But you have to think like a form builder. Like form building, I think it's easy to oversimplify it like, oh, it's just a contact form, but
right.
there's so much more you can do with it. I mean, even
Are there resources on form building? Like, are there?
I do know that on WordPress 101, WP 101, which is
Uh-huh.
a site powered by LifterLMS, they just released a Ninja Forms course.
Oh,
So
really?
that's check that out over on WP 101. So that's there, but yeah, it's just one of those things where it just takes time. And go look at their add-ons. And let me tell you what I mean by that.
Okay.
If you like these form plugins, like for example, Gravity Forms is like a specific price, and like it has all these add-ons, like the signature signing thing we were talking about.
Right.
But also that's called like user signature or
Okay.
something. We're
Yep.
talking about the user registration add-on, which you need to use if you're going to adjust the LMS registration. But it
Hmm.
also has like e-commerce add-ons. So if you want people to fill out a form to like buy a ticket to a live event
Right.
and have that be required or an optional part of a lesson, you
Uh-huh.
could do that. So you could have like you could sell a product with a form. You could have a registration for a webinar or an in-person event, or um,
Hmm.
there's forms that like you fill out and it posts something on the front end of the website. So there's really
Wow.
forms are actually kind of the backbone of how the internet and websites work if you look at it deeply. So really, whatever you think of in your like learning path of like, oh, I want this course to come with a yoga mat, and then I want them like after lesson 7 to commit to buy a membership at this yoga studio, or I want them to order like um, these like whatever, some kind of health and fitness other products. Like you can
Hmm.
design it all and make it as required as you want to. Plus a lot of the forms integrate with Zapier, which is a huge feature request at LifterLMS. If you
Right.
want Zapier, you can get to it today through a form.
Really? Well, tell me more about that.
um, So look at the different forms out there, and look to see if they have which ones have the Zapier integration. I'm not sure if they all do or not, but
Okay.
like if you wanted to have people fill out a certain form and then that data gets zapped over to a Google Sheet somewhere, or, you know, does something else on another website,
Hmm.
you can do that.
So even though Lifter LMS does not currently have a Zapier integration, that would still work if the form plugin had a Zapier integration. Is that correct? Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
So let me form Zapier. Let me just give you an example here. I'm just looking at the Gravity Forms. I'm assuming they have it. Yeah, so Gravity Forms has an integration with Zapier. And so that means, when somebody submits that form, for example, you could pass data over to Salesforce. You could do something on a Google Calendar somewhere. You could do something in,
Huh.
I'm just looking at like the popular ones. There's like hundreds of them here.
Yeah.
So the save Gravity Form submissions to a Google Sheet, add context to a HubSpot CRM, Um,
Wow.
so do stuff in Infusionsoft, do stuff in MailChimp, um, add this stuff to a Google document, send an email from Gmail with
Wow.
whatever in it. So like it just opens up the whole world.
Yeah, that's super powerful. That opens up tons of possibilities.
Yeah. So many, in fact, you also got to be careful because once you open up this power, like anything's possible. So it's easy to get carried away.
Right.
And
That's true.
always like to bring it back to what
Yeah.
is the learning outcome? Like what's the minimum, minimum
Right, right,
tech
right,
stack to get the job done. But
right.
yeah, it really opens it up.
Wow. So all these form plugins are actually already available to our Universe and Infinity Bundle customers, right? If they had an active subscription,
Yep. So
they have
they're
access to all these already. That's pretty cool.
yeah, they're inside. If you have a Universe Bundle or Infinity, you can download these right now from your account on the LifterLMS website. But they're also available by themselves. Like if you just want, for whatever reason, if you just want just the WPForms add-on, you can go get it by itself.
Yeah. And they have a 30-day money back guarantee. So
That's
it's a
right.
good way to try it out. If you try it and it's not the right one for you, you can swap it out for a different one or request a refund.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go ask if you're listening to this or watching this video, go in the LifterLMS Facebook group and just search for LifterLMS VIP if you're not in there, and ask people what forms they like or what form plugin do they like. Because I could see people like really getting hung up on the forms question. There's like the hosting question, the page builder question, which
Yeah.
and just see what people say. They're all good. We wouldn't integrate with ones
Right.
that aren't solid, so it's really just a matter of personal preference.
Yeah, but that's a good idea to like crowdsource that question because I'm sure different people have different opinions on it. Like you said, just like in the hosting world.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I'm disappointed I didn't stump you, but maybe next time.
Yeah, well, we are going to be doing, if you're watching this on the live stream, we are going to be doing a webinar where we're actually going to show what we're talking about here. So that's coming up very soon. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, that means that webinar already happened. And if you go to the bottom of lifterlms.com, there's a webinars link where you can go access all the past webinars. So that we're just kind of talking about it here, but we're going to be showing that too. Very soon. And also I know the guys over at Tools for Course Creators have actually already created some training on how to use these form plugins as well. So if you're following those guys, Mark and Jonathan, you can find them at toolsforcoursecreators.com. They've got some training on how to do stuff with Lifter.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Allie. Thanks for
Anytime.
Thanks for representing the community here and helping unpack what forms are all about and what the possibilities are.
Yeah, my pleasure. Glad to do it.
And that's a wrap for this episode of LMScast. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I hope you enjoyed the show. This show was brought to you by LifterLMS, the #1 tool for creating, selling, and protecting engaging online courses to help you get more revenue, freedom, and impact in your life. Head on over to LifterLMS.com and get the best gear for your course creator journey. Let's build the most engaging, results-getting courses on the internet.